YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
Let the joyous news be spread. The wicked old witch at last is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, oh witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. Wake up, you sleepy head. Rub your eyes, get out of bed. Wake up, the wicked witch is dead. She's long hair with goblins long below, below, below your hole. Rise up and laugh and sing, and ring the bell now. Ding dong, the merry-o. Sing it high, sing it low. Let them know the wicked witch is dead.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Or at least we're being told that Lord Rothschild has kicked the bucket. Now, this is, of course, reason to celebrate, is it not? I mean, for those of you that don't know, the Rothschilds are really behind all of the wickedness in the world, all of the evil in the world. They are one of the elite bloodlines who control and manipulate everything. They control the media. They control the Federal Reserve. They control even a lot of the churches that have been set up, from Jehovah's Witnesses to the Mormon Church. They have their hands in everything. And of course, most notoriously, they have their hand in the creation of the state of Israel and the Balfour Declaration. So it's a reason to celebrate that this guy's kicked the bucket. However, with the technology that they have, a lot of these people aren't going anywhere. They're just removing themselves from the public eye. And it's interesting, too, that we just lost Henry Kissinger. A lot of these guys just suddenly are deciding to check out, which tells me that something big is coming, where these people, again, will be hiding out in their lairs, probably in Antarctica. But before I get into detail about the celebration, there might be other reasons to celebrate. I am creating, and I have created, 2 new YouTube channels. That's right, 2 new channels. A Call for Resistance and New World Psychosis. Now, I am not saying that I'm definitely going to be uploading there. I haven't fully made a decision yet. It's really on everybody out there. If you subscribe to those channels and you help me build those channels out and show that you still want me here on YouTube, I'll stay here on YouTube. I was originally going to make this video for the website, but I decided I'll just put it on YouTube. And I'll tell you about my new channels. And again, they are linked in the comment section below, because I can't leave anything in the description box because I haven't given my ID to the government, I mean to YouTube, and you have to give your one-time verification. You have to literally upload a license to be able to leave links. So I leave the links in the comment section and in the community tab. So again, we have about 35,000 subscribers on this channel. If we get to 15 to 20,000 subs on the other 2 channels, then I will consider coming back to YouTube. I know a lot of you want me here on YouTube, but you also understand my frustration with being here. So at the very least, at least subscribe to those channels. Show me you still want me here on YouTube, and I will come back to YouTube in the future once those channels potentially get built out. There's videos over there. Please watch the videos, build up the watch time for me, but most specifically and importantly, subscribe now to those channels. And again, if you don't want to click the links, you want to look them up, it is A Call for Resistance and New World Psychosis. Sub to them. Be prepared. Maybe I'll be back over there in due time, but show me that you want me here first and then go do that. And on top of that, I do have the podcast over on Podbean and Spotify. Make sure you subscribe to that now in the event that this channel is gone. That's where you'll be able to find me. I'm doing weekly podcasts as of now, but that could turn into something more. I could do daily podcasts, especially when there's breaking news stories about events that aren't real. I'll likely cover that over on the podcast because we obviously know how quickly they censor actual news being covered and broken down as fake here on YouTube. So that is also linked below. You can look up A Call for an Uprising on Podbean or Spotify. So here's the story. Lord Rothschild has supposedly kicked the bucket. Now, Lord Rothschild has his hand, like I said, in everything. The Rothschilds are, if not the most important bloodline of the New World Order, they're at the very top. There's bloodlines like the Rockefellers, there's bloodlines, the Kennedy bloodline, there's 13 supposed bloodlines, but who's keeping track at this point? Because a lot of these guys change their names over time, etc. But Lord Rothschild, you've all seen him before. He's the guy that literally most people believe Mr. Burns on The Simpsons was created after. He's the guy that looks like every time we see him that he crawled out of a coffin. Well, now supposedly he's in one. But we can't really believe that because we know they have the technology in place already for these people to never kick the bucket. But at the very least, we could celebrate the fact that we don't need to see this guy's face on television anymore. We don't need to see him hanging out with Robert Kraft or any of these other wicked elites, at least out in public now. So he's going into hiding with the rest of his pals. But Lord Rothschild is also known, for those of you that don't know, as we're heading towards the manufactured, created World War III that Albert Pike has talked about, how it needs to be between Zionism and the Islamic world. Well, Zionism, the current state of Israel, the one that all of these Christians seem to fall head over heels for, the deception actually all goes back to the Rothschilds. Even the symbol that we look at and we say, that flag has the Star of David on it. Well, that's really the Rothschild crest. That's really what it is. And Lord Rothschild got the United States of America involved in World War II so that they could take over the actual land over in Palestine or in what is now Israel, or that whole just strip of land over there. So they hijacked the land, and then they called it the new state of Israel in the year 1948. And the logo that we see all the time for Israel is actually the magical red shield with the seal of Solomon of the Rothschilds. But here they are talking about, here's the Lord talking about how literally the Rothschilds own Israel, which should be enough for most people out there who claim to be awake or claim to be into conspiracy or been sucked into the Q psyop to actually understand what Israel really is. Listen to Lord Rothschild talk about it. And you might notice he looks like he's pretty much dead in this interview, and this was about 20 years ago. So can't imagine what he was looking like today.
In modern Jewish history, and it begins with 3 words. Dear Lord Rothschild.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
It's an interesting question because it was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe, but they didn't clarify who was in charge of that movement. And in addition, it was, after all, in Great Britain. So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed. And Walter was Lord Rothschild, and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on my spectacles to make sure I read it accurately. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour.
And here it is, the Balfour Declaration. What do you feel when you see it here?
I genuinely feel it's one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of the Jewish people. If you think it took 3,000 years to get to this. And then you say, how did this miracle happen? It's the most incredible piece of opportunism. I mean, if you think you had an impoverished would-be scientist, Chaim Weizmann, who somehow gets to England, meets a few people, including members of my family, seduces them. He has such great charm and conviction. He gets to Balfour, and he unbelievably persuades Balfour and Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, and most of the ministers, that this idea of the national home for Jews should be allowed to take place. I mean, it's so unlikely. Then he's, starts to fight a difficult battle with the British cabinet, and this letter goes through 5 drafts, as you know. And in the end, it comes out as a rather compromising letter. I mean, the essential point is there for the Jewish community to fasten on to. You have the first bit, which promises a national home rather than the national home. And then you have the bit that nothing that's to be done should in any way harm the Arab community. But you come back to the big point, which is that this is perhaps the greatest event in Jewish life for thousands of years.
So the Rothschilds themselves have their hand in so many things. They have their hands pretty much in everything we see going on today. They own all of the media, goes through the Rothschilds, because it all goes through Israel. Okay? The Rothschilds have their hands in Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church. They have their hand in everything that you could possibly name. And most of the time when they have, their meetings, they claim, at least in books like The Bloodlines of the Illuminati, Russ Springmeier's book, there's lots of talk in there about how the Rothschilds themselves deal directly with Satan. That there's these 13 bloodlines and they make all sorts of human sacrifice. And when they do, they deal directly with Satan. Now, most people would hear that and they'd say, oh, yeah, they deal directly with Satan. But make no mistake about it. The Rothschilds are the Ashkenazi Jews. I mean, they really are the bloodline of them. And on top of all the other things with the Rothschilds, the ceremonies and stuff that they do, during, the ceremonies and the rituals, the Freemason rituals, the candidates are presented for approval at the Sisters of Light and the Mothers of Darkness levels. The bloodline of the Rothschilds is actually called the Rothschild bloodline. And human sacrifices are done and committed for these initiates to the Rothschild bloodline when they go and they perform these rituals. So when outside families or outside people are getting moved up their positions, up the ladder, it's always revolving around human sacrifice. And the Rothschilds are always the ones who the sacrifices are made to. In addition to obviously made to Lucifer, to the Rothschilds, they present these sacrifices right in front of their faces. In some of these homes, like the home in Eyes Wide Shut is a depiction of one of the Rothschilds' many mysterious castles that they own. Now, another thing to note with Lord Rothschild, if you didn't see, Lord Rothschild actually put this huge cake in his backyard. That's right, a cake. I don't know if anybody out there had seen this. I'm not sure if I even covered it on my channel a couple of years ago. But Lord Rothschild literally put a cake, and I believe that's the cake almost like mocking the bridegroom, like a cake for their bride, the Antichrist. And he put this giant layered cake in his backyard. And people are just like, oh, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Now, we all should be looking at that and saying to ourselves, is this something to do with the actual bridegroom, their bridegroom? Because remember, everything that they do is inverted. So, in the Bible, in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 through 33, that compares the union of husband and wife to that of Christ and the church. Well, they literally invert these things, right? And we know that they have a bridegroom with Satan himself and the arrival of Antichrist, who many believe is already here. So we could celebrate the fact that the Rothschild, at least openly, has kicked the bucket. When I see this, I start to get more suspicious about these guys. Because of the technology and the stuff that they have, they're never getting sick for the most part. They're immune to the things that get us all sick. But the timing of it with Kissinger is interesting as we go into 2024. And we know that ultimately the chaos and the things that ensue come directly from the bloodlines like the Rothschilds, who run and control everything, who run and control Israel at a time where Israel is on the precipice of World War III, which is exactly what Albert Pike teaches deliberately, strategically, of how World War III will play out, right? Third World War will occur between the political Zionists, who are a creation of the Rothschilds, and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion, which, of course, is America. We're going to continue to see the emotional exhaustion from not just this war, the civil war that they've created in this country, but also the economical exhaustion, because everybody's feeling it at the grocery store. Everybody's feeling it everywhere in this country. I mean, everybody's grocery bill is literally double. And you can even notice that the amount of food that you're getting is also less. So this is all a byproduct of the Rothschilds, who were the ones who were trying to bring about this new world order. So Lord Rothschild, it's been announced that he's kicked the bucket. Can we celebrate that he's kicked the bucket? Well, if we believe that he really has, I mean, if he's really kicked the bucket, then we know that he's down in hell right now, likely with a pitchfork up his rear end. But at the same time, that's what Lord Rothschild's into anyway. You know, the Rothschild family, they're into all sorts of really just disturbing, disgusting acts. And if you read a lot of these books on the Rothschilds and the rituals performed, the satanic rituals, this is where all the stuff, you know, that I talk about with these rituals involving children and feces, it's stuff you don't even want. You know, I'm recording this in the morning, so I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not interested in losing my breakfast here, but I'm sure you're also not interested in having your day ruined. So let's just rejoice and at least celebrate the fact that Lord Rothschild is no longer showing his face in public anymore. Now he might have a mask on and be a different person, which wouldn't surprise me. It's not like Lord Rothschild was constantly shown on TV, but you could always find pictures of him at these prestigious events with all these other globalists, whether it's NFL owners or, you know, owners of major soccer clubs in the UK, always popping up, but just subtly, and giving speeches at universities still, like Oxford. I mean, it's surreal that this guy hasn't been arrested, but you know, apparently in this world, that's, you know, hate speech, even saying that Lord Rothschild should be. If you actually look at the stuff that they're connected to, then you realize they're the ones responsible for the division, the chaos, the wars, all of it. And we still, you know, allow these people to be in control because they've weakened us so much as a society that even speaking bad of them is considered hateful and a crime, because that's a byproduct of the Rothschild. So the good news is that we're not going to have to see his decrepit face anymore. And the other good news is that I do have 2 new YouTube channels, A Call for Resistance and New World Psychosis. If you didn't subscribe earlier, take the time to do it now. I'm not leaving this video up for very long. And again, encourage people to subscribe to it. If you're somebody who doesn't subscribe when I tell you I have new channels, just please do me that favor. If you like my content, subscribe to it. Because if those channels get built out and we get about 15 to 20,000 people over on those 2 channels, I'll start uploading my daily content again on YouTube as well as over on the website. So if this is what people want, I've seen a lot of people complaining that I haven't come back yet. Well, do me the favor and subscribe to those channels now. I thank everybody for being here. Rest in peace, on earth at least, Lord Rothschild, but I'm sure your work is not done yet, especially with whatever plans that are coming in 2024. We know the Rothschilds have their hand in it. I thank you guys for being here again. Hope you're all well. God bless you and your families, as always.